Oscar Wilde is one of the most iconic figures from late Victorian society. Enjoying a meteoric, upward thrust to the pinnacle of society, his wit, humour and genius shine through his performs and writings. However, due to his sexuality, he suffered the indignity and disgrace of imprisonment. For a lengthy time, his identity was once synonymous with scandal and intrigue. However, with altering social attitudes, he is remembered with higher affection for his biting social criticism, wit and linguistic skills. To get lower back my childhood, I would do whatever in the world. Besides take exercise, get up early or be respectable. Oscar Wilde short biography. Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde was once born on 16 October 1854 in Dublin, Ireland. His mother and father have been properly recognized and attracted a diploma of gossip for their extravagant lifestyles. In 1864, his father Will Wilde was once knighted for his offerings to medicine. Oscar_Wilde. Oscar Wilde proved to be a pupil of remarkable talent. He was once awarded a scholarship to Trinity College, Dublin. Here he studied the classics, in specific growing and pastime in the Greek philosophers and the Hellenistic view of life. From Trinity College, he gained a scholarship to Magdalen College, Oxford University. He loved his time in Oxford and was once capable to increase his poetic sensibilities and love of literature. He additionally grew to become greater mindful of his bisexual nature. For his increasingly more feminine fashion costume he regularly acquired stick from greater traditional Oxford students. He used to be a super scholar, however. Additionally, an increasing number of rebellious. In one educational year, he bought rusticated for turning up to college 3 weeks after the begin of term. Thus, after a while, he misplaced activity in pursuing an educational profession in Oxford and moved to London. It used to be in London that he used to be in a position to skillfully enter into excessive society, quickly turning into nicely recognized as a playwright and mentioned wit. Oscar Wilde grew to be famous at some stage in London society. He was once one of the early celebrities. In some respects, he used to be well known for being famous. His gown was once a goal for satire in the cartoons. However, Wilde didn't appear to mind. In fact, he learnt the artwork of self-publicity and appeared to revel in it, at least up till his trial in 1898. Oscar Wilde. On the 18th of February 1895, the Marquess of Queensberry, who devised the Queensberry's regulations for boxing, left a calling card accusing Wilde of sodomy. Wilde initiated a non-public libel towards Queensberry for defamation. Queensberry was once arrested and Sir employed a non-public detective to discover proof that Wilde used to be concerned in gay behavior with younger men. At the trial, Wilde defended himself with his normal wit and flippancy. However, the suggestions for the Marquis William Carson-esque used to be capable to grant factual proof and memories of male prostitutes who had been inclined to testify in opposition to Wilde. Realizing he had miscalculated, Wilde dropped his libel case, however grew to become dependable for the monetary value, which left him bankrupt shortly after the case ended. A warrant was once issued for Wilde's arrest below Section 11 of the Criminal Law Amendment Act 1885, which outlawed homosexuality, even between consenting adults. Trial of Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde's trial gripped the nation. The issue depended a supply of severe gossip. and hypothesis in the press. The trial moved to a speedy conclusion and Wilde was once discovered guilty. For his crime of gay acts, Wilde used to be given the most penitentiary sentence of 2 years tough labor in Wandsworth and then Reading jail. It is no understatement to say this trip deeply stunned and affected the earlier ebullient Wilde. In some respects he in no way actually recovered. On his release, he left for Paris, the place he lived in comparative anonymity. However, he retained his wit and endured to write, closely influenced by way of his chastening experiences. Of these submit jail writings, his poem, Ballad of Reading Jail, is possibly the most nicely known, illustrating a new dimension to Wilde's writing. I by no means noticed a man who looked with such a wistful eye upon that little tent of blue which prisoners name the sky, and at each and every drifting cloud that went with sails of silver by. I walked with different souls in pain within every other ring, and used to be thinking if the man had done a gorgeous or little thing, when a voice in the back of me whispered low, that fellow's received to swing. From Ballad of Reading Jail. Although Wilde couldn't return to his preceding stage of writing, he developed new capacities, at the same time as holding his sharp intellect. As Jonathan Fryer commented on Oscar Wilde's last section of Lifestyles, he was beaten, however no longer bowed. Nevertheless a clown in the back of a masks of tragedy. The life of Wilde was once turbulent and risky, by no means quick of incident. It mirrored his personal internal paradoxes and modern views. In some ways, he was once each a saint and sinner at the equal time. Rightly or wrongly, Wilde is remembered as plenty for his lifestyles as his writings. However, he himself said, "I have put my brain into writing, my genius I have saved for living." His writings mirror in section his paradoxical view of life, suggesting matters had been now not usually as they appeared. As his biographer, Richard Ellman, stated of Wilde, along with Blake and Nietzsche, he was once proposing that right and evil are now not what they seem, and that ethical tabs can't cope with the complexity of behavior. Whatever one may also make of Wilde's life, his capability for writing stays undeniable. His best work and comedy is arguably The Importance of Being Earnest. Here the plot line is thin, to say the least, however Wilde brings it alive through his scintillating repertoire of wit and biting humor. Relations are genuinely a tedious pack of people who haven't bought the remotest know-how of how to live, nor the smallest intuition about when to die. Algernon, Act 1, 35 is a very fascinating age. London. Society is full of female of the very best possible beginning who have, of their personal free choice, remained 35 for years. Lady Bracknell, Act 3. Wilde was once no longer an openly political commentator, however via his plays, there is an underlying critique of social norms that are illumined for their absurdities. Wilde stays a charming character. Anyone who lived existence to the full, experiencing each the pleasure and tragedy of society's vacillating judgments. With the distance of over a century, it is less complicated to decide Wilde for his special contributions to literature instead than through the eyes of Victorian ethical standards. His these have turned out to be immortal, a becoming tribute to a genius of the witticism, "I am so smart that from time to time I don't recognize a single phrase of what I am saying." Oscar Wilde. As Stephen Fry wrote of Oscar Wilde,